Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Caught by Happy podcast, the inaugural episode, the first episode, the number one episode of the Caught by Happy podcast. Will there be a number two? You're going to have to stay tuned to find out. But for right now, this is episode number one. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Caught by Happy podcast. Today's guest is my neighbor. Yes, the person who lives right next door to me, Mandy Herbert. She was an easy get. I just said, hey, I'm doing this podcast. You want to be on it? And she said, do I have a choice? And I said, no. So she is on my podcast today. She's got a crazy story, and I can't wait for you to hear it. But first, we're going to get into a little bit about what this podcast may or may not become and what I envision it to become. All right? And also, let me just say that this is going to be rough for the first few episodes. I do not know what I am doing in the world of podcasting or equipment or messing around with levels and editing. I'm learning this as we go, and I'm sorry to say, but you're going to be on this journey with me because I'm trying to figure it out. So bear with me. We're going to get through it, and we're going to get it done right. It just might take a few episodes. All right, so here we go. What I'm trying to accomplish here is a conversation between two people, one of them being me, and the other one being somebody who is following their passions or following their dreams, following their heart, following their joy. They're doing something with their lives that brings them just daggone happiness. Maybe they're an artist. They love painting, or they love drawing, or they make stuff with their hands. But whatever it is, it's bringing them so much joy to do it. And here's the key. Not only is it bringing them happiness, they found success with it. So they're selling their art or their pottery or whatever it is that they do. Maybe they are a person who fixes cars for a living, but they really love cars and they're super into it and they want to talk about it and they live for it. They wake up in the morning and they're happy to go to work and fix some cars. Maybe they're a fitness person. Maybe they're a fitness instructor. They own their own gym. Maybe they are a restaurateur. Maybe they have some weird hobby that they don't do for work, but they do for fun and they really enjoy it and it's interesting. I want to talk to them about it. I don't know. Maybe they go find rocks or, pick up sticks, and I have no idea. If they enjoy it though, I want to know about it. Caught by Happy, the name, I know it's silly. I don't know why I came up with that and I used it as the name of my podcast. Honestly, I was just trying to get this thing off the ground and I couldn't think of anything else, but I'm rolling with this. All right. That's what it's called. And I'm doing it for myself. I want to know, I want to be inspired by these people. What exactly are they doing that I'm not? How have they found and identified that thing that they love, first of all? And then how have they put it to good use to make a living at it, or make a real hobby out of it? So that's what we're going to do. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself for those who don't know me, and I'm guessing everybody who's listening to the show does know me, because how else are you going to find the show if you don't know me? I'm going to put this on my Facebook account, and only people that I know will look at it and probably make fun of me. All right, so here's me. I am 41 years old. I live in the suburbs of Richmond, Virginia. I grew up outside of Buffalo, New York, and I'm a huge Bills and Sabres fan. So let's go Buffalo, first of all, number one. I've got a dog. I've got a cat. I've got a wonderful, amazing, beautiful wife, Jessica. I have 3 wonderful, amazing, beautiful children, Lucy, Molly, and Beckett. And we are talking 7, 6, and 1. 7, soon to be 8, 6, and 1, almost 2. So 7, 6, and 1, those are my kids. They're in second grade, first grade, and daycare. I've been paying daycare all of their lives, so I'm broke. I work in the communications and public relations and content marketing field, I guess you could say. But right now I'm doing this podcast. I don't know what else you want to know. When I record these things, I'm going to be home alone because there's no way I can record this with the kid. Are you kidding me? With the kids here? Never happened. They never let me. I'd have to lock them upstairs and put on SpongeBob or something. And even so, they're going to be jumping around upstairs. So there's no way I can get any quiet. All right. What do you got going on? Why don't you tell me? You can email me at
caughtbyhappy@gmail.com. That email address is subject to change. I might even get, once I get the website up, it might be matt@caughtbyhappy.com or cbhpod.com. I don't know. I'm still working out all those details. What do you got going on? What's up with your life? Are you feeling okay? Have you had lunch yet? Have you eaten something? Maybe you should eat something. I know when I don't eat something, hangry is, I know it's a cutesy word, but it's beyond that. I don't get hangry. I don't want to talk to or be around anybody if I'm hungry. All that I want to do is just get some food in my face. And give me that, like a bite. If I have a bite of something and it hits my lips and goes into my stomach, then I'm fine. I'm fine. As long as I continue to keep eating. All right, let's get on with it, all right?
As I said, my guest today is Mandy Herbert. She's going to tell us all about how the nonprofit Patient Services, Inc. came into existence. It was a good chat. It's an interesting story. And here's my talk with Mandy. Mandy.
Hey, Matt.
Welcome to my house. You've never been here before, have you?
Never, ever before.
That's obviously a joke. Mandy and I are neighbors. We've been neighbors for over 3 years now since we moved in here. And our kids play together every single day.
Every day.
Every single day. And we stand out in the cul-de-sac and we watch them play.
Every day.
Every single day. Raining, snowing, middle of summer, it doesn't matter. We're out there with our kids.
We're good friends.
We're very good friends. And the reason why I wanted you to be on my podcast, the very first episode, by the way,
whoop, whoop.
Super exciting, right? Is because of your crazy, unbelievable story and your journey that kind of has shaped your life and where it has led you to where you are now with your work.
Sure.
So, let's just go all the way back. Like, if that's cool with you, I want to start at the beginning.
All right, let's take it back.
Where were you born?
Jackson, Tennessee.
Jackson, Tennessee. What year was that?
1983.
Wow. So you are as old as my wife.
I'm young.
5 years younger than me.
Super young.
A child of the 80s.
Yes.
So tell me about Jackson, Tennessee. How long were you there?
So I was there a couple years. I actually moved out to Richmond, Virginia around the age of 3. So I wasn't there too long enough to make friends, long enough to be around my godparents. So and then we picked up and left.
You don't remember anything about it, do you?
Not very much.
Do you still have family there?
I do not have family there.
Have you ever been back?
I have not been back.
Okay. So you're not even a Tennessean. You're a tried and true Virginian.
Yes.
And a Richmond Virginian.
Yes.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to elementary school at Alberta Smith. And then from there, Bailey Bridge. From there, Trinity. And then off to High Point University.
So you graduated high school in what, 2000?
2001.
2001. Wow. Baby. Just a baby.
So young.
All right. You've kind of got a crazy story that all started with your father.
That's right.
So can we get into that a little bit?
We can.
Give me the gist of that.
I think the first time we told this story to you, Mike and I, my husband, we were sitting around the fire pit not long after you moved in, and I'm not even sure how we got on the subject.
Well, as you do, as you sit by a fire pit, things start coming up.
They do. My father is an amazing man. He has a bleeding disorder called hemophilia. It's a mild version. Mm-hmm. And he actually didn't discover that he had hemophilia until he was 17 years old. He played sports his whole life and really found out at a later age when he was more involved with sports,
Did he have some kind of injury that?
He would have injuries that would just last longer than the usual injury would last for a normal child. And what it is, it's a bleeding disorder. So the way I explain it is, think about you have a full set of dominoes. You push the first domino, they all start to fall one after another until you get to the middle. It stops. There's missing dominoes, so it doesn't continue on. That is your clotting factor. So he's missing something that doesn't allow his blood to clot like you would, I can even say me, like yours would, because I am a carrier.
You're a carrier for the gene for hemophilia.
For the gene for hemophilia, yes. Right. So the females carry that. and you have a 50-50 chance of passing it on to your son. You can also pass it on to your daughter, but the 50-50 chance is for your son. So he may or may not have hemophilia. Your daughter may or may not be a carrier.
And you do not have it, but you're a carrier. For the
I
gene.
am a carrier. So my factor levels are not 100%. They're lower, so mid-range. But I do bruise easily. People can punch me. I'm going to have a little bruise. I can run into the side of a table. I would bruise.
Yeah.
I just bruise easier than others. But I don't have the issues that most hemophiliacs have. So if they have an injury, that could cause to bleeding, that could cause to joint damage, they just can't clot. So they need a infusion to help them clot their blood.
So is that something that happened to your father? Like, did he have some kind of accident or something that caused him to lose a lot of blood and he wasn't healing?
He didn't lose a lot of blood. He was actually a minister in Tennessee. He had met my mom at the time.
So this is after he was 17 then, because if he found out at 17 and he's a minister now, I'm guessing he's in his 20s or something?
Yes. So this is probably after college. He's met my mom and they're married. He is a minister doing what he loves. He went to seminary school for this. He's doing a charity basketball game. He falls down, twists his ankle. It doesn't heal. So knowing that he has hemophilia,
Oh, okay.
he goes into the hospital and says, listen, I need to get a treatment. First treatment ever. I have hemophilia. Can you help me out? At the time, this is back in the 80s.
Like
They're
what, early 80s?
early 80s.
Before you were born or after you were born?
This is before I was born.
Okay, so before 1983.
Yes, before 1983. At this point in time, the infusion that he received, the product was made out of donated blood.
Mm-hmm.
So plasma.
Mm-hmm.
He had heard a rumor that some of the donated blood was infected with HIV.
And in 1982 or before that, like what exactly
Before
does that
that.
even mean?
So like into the 70s, like heard the rumors, but he thought, hey, if I request, factor from blood donors here in Tennessee, obviously, that's probably pretty controlled, probably fine.
Right. So because at that time people thought that HIV was in like San Francisco
Right.
or New York.
Right. It wasn't there.
It wasn't in Tennessee.
It wasn't there. Unfortunately, he got the infusion and he found out after the fact that he requested that it come from the general area, but it didn't come from that area. It came from somewhere else. So
he requested one thing and got another.
Exactly.
And were they just like, oh yeah, sorry about that. We just got to give you what we give you? Is that?
Well, he found out after the fact because he became ill, wasn't feeling well, went in for tests, and his very first infusion was infected with both HIV and hepatitis.
Holy cow. So how long after the initial procedure did that come out?
It wasn't too long afterwards, and he just wasn't feeling well. So he went in for tests, and, they gave him some treatment and said, make sure, when you're with your wife, you're practicing safe sex. We don't really think it being passed on that way, but just be safe just in case.
Because they still thought it was not passed down between heterosexual couples.
Right. They still didn't understand how it was passed on.
Uh-huh. Early 80s.
Exactly. So at this point in time, I'm obviously coming into the picture. My mom suddenly, it's not too long after she had me in 1983, she's not feeling very well. She has pneumonia. She has all these different infections, and they can't figure out what's wrong with her. Her immune system is down. So she goes in for testing, kind of knowing in the background, in the back of their minds, that my father has been infected through treatment. Of course, she goes in for treatment and wham, she has it. She has HIV. And it turns into
So it's
full-blown
1983.
AIDS.
Your father has HIV
Mhm.
from a transfusion.
Yes. His very first transfusion. Well, infusion, not transfusion, infusion.
So they tell him, go home, practice safe sex. We'll give you these meds, and the next thing you know, your mom's pregnant and you're born. that
Yes.
same year, shortly thereafter, she starts to feel ill, and she finds out that she has HIV, and that turns into full-blown AIDS.
Yeah.
All in 1983, did she find that out?
So it's 1983 and a little bit afterwards.
Okay.
So a few years afterwards. It's really not that long, probably within 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were just an itty-bitty thing.
Yeah, I'm just a baby.
Okay. So, all right. So walk me through what happened after she got this diagnosis.
After the diagnosis, I think it was pretty rough on my parents. My mom slowly just didn't feel well. They really, until they got the diagnosis, just didn't understand. You know, there wasn't a treatment necessarily for what she had. You could only treat the symptoms.
What did she have? She just had.
She actually ended up going into the hospital from having pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
She went in. The doctors and nurses, again, there was only one treatment available at this point in time when she's checked into the hospital. She's there for a while. So my father is traveling back and forth to take care of myself and my older brother.
How old was your brother?
So we're probably between, I would say, like 2 and 5 at this point.
Okay.
You know, he's raising us, he's working full time, and he's traveling an hour away to see her in the hospital where she can be hopefully treated. But while she's there, because HIV/AIDS is so new to the community, the doctors and nurses really don't want to go into the room with her.
So this is Tennessee still.
We're still in Tennessee. And he hasn't really told anybody. He's only told his parents.
Wow.
So
And what about her parents and her family?
so just the
immediate
parents,
family?
just the immediate family. So
And she's going downhill?
and she's going downhill. And he's traveling every day to see her. And the doctors and nurses put their whole bodysuits on and their gloves and put her food on a tray and push it into her. And she's too weak to get out of bed, but they don't want to go in.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can you even imagine? I can't even imagine what that would be
No,
like.
I mean, and she's really our age.
And we're talking like 30 years ago, a little over 30 years ago. It wasn't that long ago.
No, I think she was 36 or 37.
Wow.
When my dad got the call and said, "Come quickly, she's not doing well," and he never made it there in time. And
So she was
passed.
in the hospital for how long before that happened?
You know, I don't know exactly how long it was. Maybe a couple months. I'm not 100%
And
sure.
you were 2 years old when she passed?
I was 3.
You were 3. So you probably don't even have any memories.
No, I don't.
Wow.
Yeah, my brother has memories. He was older, but I do not.
All right, so I got to ask, so were you and your brother being tested to see if you had HIV?
The point in which she became infected was after both of us.
So after you were born or after she was pregnant with you, she became infected.
Right. I'm good.
So you're good. So you're good.
I'm good.
Okay. Well, I mean, that in and of itself is, just a crazy story. And, unfortunately, I think there's probably a lot of stories like that from that time period from people and doctors who just didn't know. The technology wasn't there. The research wasn't there. They didn't know how it spread, how to treat HIV. So, I mean.
Yeah, and they may not have known, but there were people who did know that the
blood
product they
Right.
used was infected.
Right.
They were very well.
So they were
They
aware
were very
of that.
well aware that it was. The manufacturers at the time who made this product for treatment were aware that some of the donors, may have been infected with HIV/AIDS,
Oh, wow.
Hep C, but continued on. So
Was there any kind of legal settlement after any of this?
Huge, which my father was actually one of the people who led this initiative. He pulled every single document that he could find and uncover, and he spent countless hours going through all of this paperwork that he got and just noted everything that basically led to and improved that they were aware this was happening and they did nothing to stop it. And
All while raising 2 kids,
raising 2 kids.
HIV positive.
Yep. Working full time as a clinical counselor at MCV, counseling families who had children with different types of cancer.
So he's not a minister anymore.
He's not a minister anymore. He's picked us up, moved us from Jackson, Tennessee to Richmond, Virginia to have support from his family, who are the only ones who know this is happening.
Wow. Where has this journey taken him? From that point, what did he end up doing with having 2 kids to raise all on his own and being HIV positive and not really having a network outside of his immediate family to lean on.
He just really took it upon himself because it was not just him. It was tons of, his friends who were going through this, who were hemophiliacs, who also got HIV AIDS through treatment. And he just figured, someone has to speak up. And that's what he did. He spoke up. He got with a big group of, those who had been impacted by this event. They went in front of the government. They were actually the ones who ensured that going forward, we have blood safety in the United States. Because of him, we can feel, 100% positive that if you go to get a blood transfusion, it is clean. And that is only because
that's all him
and the others who worked with him.
And the action that they took after this whole thing.
That's right.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Pretty big shoes to fill.
He went on to found a nonprofit.
He did. So while he was a clinical counselor at MCV here, he heard all these family stories. So you would listen to a mom and dad of a child who is, like the age of our children, anywhere from 5 to 8, and they have cancer. And he would counsel them, just to help them emotionally. But also during his sessions, he would hear about their financial struggle. They would get a divorce on purpose so the mother could go on Medicaid. They would sell their home. They would sell their cars. Just like you and I would sell everything we have to come up with the money to pay for treatment to save our child. Unfortunately.
So the healthcare system even back then was broken, just like,
It was broken then, as it still is now.
Yeah.
He identified this financial struggle and saw families being torn apart because, they're playing the blame game. If you hadn't have done this, then our child would still be alive. If you had more money, our child would still be alive. And really, it just came down to it. They're just middle-class working people. These treatments are expensive. They can't afford them. Okay.
And did he start this at first for HIV AIDS patients, or did it really just encompass all patients who were going through ridiculous medical treatments and had piles of bills?
So he started it in 1989. The nonprofit is called Patient Services, Inc. We've actually, this August, hit 30 years, so really excited about that. Wow. But he started it in the area of bleeding disorders because that's what he knew. That's what he was familiar with. That's what he had himself. So we started there supporting hemophilia patients or bleeding disorders patients with their health insurance premiums. From there, we went to cover MS, RA, and it just kind of kept going. And today we help with over 60 different chronic and rare diseases.
And so the main charge of your nonprofit is pretty much making sure that these patients can have the coverage they need to get the medications, correct?
Exactly. So these people have chronic rare illnesses, and there are so many that most do not know about. But let's just talk about like oncology, like chronic myeloid leukemia. That's pretty common. These patients, the treatment is just, the cost is outrageous. Nobody can afford that. What PSI does is we step in, and if you're eligible for support and you meet all of our eligibility criteria, what we can do is pay for whether it could be your copayment, your health insurance premium, infusion and nursing services, travel costs to and from your treatment center, and the list goes on and on.
Wow. And you rely on the support from donors to be able to fund all this, correct?
100%.
100%. And I know that you and your husband, Mike, and other people from the nonprofit go up to DC regularly, and you guys lobby the actual Congress people.
We do. So we have a government relations team at PSI, Patient Services, Inc. And we have that because Dana's my father. He actually is the one who really started advocacy. He was the one up there every single day fighting for blood safety and fighting for the families who were wronged by the government, the manufacturers, everybody who knew that their treatment was tainted. So
he's probably, there's probably people in Congress right now that have been there that long that have, recognized your dad and the story behind you guys.
Right. They know him well, and he's retired now, but he is still there advocating.
Wow.
if not
And he's
maybe
great.
more than before.
And his health is good.
His health is great. And when I was around 6, 7, he actually met a hemophilia treatment center nurse. They fell in love. It was a very quick whirlwind, I guess, relationship. And they met. I think 3 months later they were engaged, and then they got married on they got engaged on New Year's Eve, and then married in April.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still married today.
Still married today.
And for all intents and purposes, she's your mom.
She's my mom.
You call her mom.
I do.
That's awesome.
Yep. So
And you've actually got a couple other younger brothers and sisters now.
I do. Well, I do want to say that she adopted up my brother and I. As soon as she married,
wow.
she adopted us because she, loved us and wanted to make sure if anything ever happened with my dad, we would have somebody we could be with. I actually have an older brother, and then I have 2 younger siblings, a boy and a girl, Kristen and Joseph. They are fraternal twins, and they are 18 and in college now. They just started their freshman year. So you ask, how is that possible?
Yes. How is that possible with your dad's situation?
They actually, I believe the United States was not doing this, but they could actually clean everything out, even down to HIV, AIDS, everything.
What do you mean they could clean everything out?
Through
In vitro?
Yes.
So they can go. So the doctors could go in and alter the.
So yes,
specimens.
so they went to London and they through in vitro had everything, really the HIV, all of that cleaned out.
Science.
Yeah, science. It's amazing.
And this is the 90s.
This was when I was 18. So I mean, it was 17, 18. So I was junior, senior high school.
Yeah.
When they did this.
I mean,
they
just the fact that technology and the medical science around HIV/AIDS has grown so much, from 1980 to 2000.
It has. And they're doing that now here in the U.S., but at that point in time, they just weren't.
I mean, you got to think it's like going to be cured at some point. Like it's
Well, definitely.
really soon. Like,
I mean, I've read recent stories about 2 men who had bone marrow transplants and they are cured. Now, there's a little more to that.
Right.
You could actually look it up and Google it and read about it.
And there's countless people like your father who are living with it every day, but
right.
show no symptoms, and they're
Exactly.
great.
Exactly. I mean, the key is you just have to keep tricking the virus.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it will get smart enough and figure it out. But if you can keep switching things up and tricking it until there is a cure, hopefully everybody can hang on.
Wow. Well, I mean, I think it's an amazing story, and that's why I wanted you to come on and tell it. Especially for me, like I've known about not only the story, but like kind of like what you do for work at your business. I never really quite understood like what your mission of the company is, but this really gives me like a different like perspective on it. So thanks for coming and telling me that. But before we go and before we wrap this up, I want to talk just a little bit about your other passion.
All right.
You know where I'm going with this.
I do know.
What is that? What am I going to say?
I love working out.
You are a nut.
That's all I do.
Yeah, you're probably the biggest like fitness person I've ever met. You go every single morning at like 4 or 5 in the morning and you're like running in the neighborhood. If it's like 20 degrees outside or 0 degrees outside or 90 degrees outside.
That's true. I'm crazy.
You are out there every day.
Yep. I'm a personal trainer. I went to school. I guess really October is like my year anniversary of getting certified to be a personal trainer.
Wow.
I work for a studio around here, Clover Hill Personal Training. So I'm one of their awesome trainers. We have a couple of awesome trainers. I work a couple of days there a week, and I just truly enjoy helping others and helping them achieve their goals. And we just like to have fun, and working out can
How
be
many
a lot
days
of
a
fun.
week are you training there?
I'll do a Saturday boot camp here and there, and then Mondays with Mandy. So I'll do the 5:30 morning session
Mondays
and
with
then all the
Mandy.
evening sessions.
And has your user group, your follower base, have they grown, like your customers? And
They have. Right now, this studio is all women. We have, I guess really the age range is probably between, 35 to, upper 60s. And they're amazing, all of them. And they just bring a lot of joy to my life. And
Wow.
it's just,
So you're going to keep doing it.
I'm going to keep doing it. I love it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I think we're good here. You feel good about this?
Feel good about this.
All right. I really appreciate you coming on and letting our kids stay outside with your husband and my wife. I can hear them screaming right now. They are ready for us to get back out there and relieve them. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me as your first guest.
First guest.
Oh, I'm so excited.
3 years from now, when this thing blows up, people are going to come back to the first episode and they're going to hear your story.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks.
All right, there it is. My very first podcast in the bag. Thanks, very special thanks to my very first guest, Mandy Herbert from Patient Services, Inc. If you'd like to learn more about her organization, the organization that her father started, visit patientservicesinc.org. And in the meantime, if you've got any stories that you want to tell me, I'm always here to listen. You can pitch me at caughtbyhappy@gmail.com. I'm hearing all the stories, whether it's a hobby, whether it's your profession, whether it's just something you want to get off your chest. Let's talk about it. caughtbyhappy@gmail.com. If you like this podcast, if you like what you heard so far, if you want to see where this thing goes, make sure you subscribe and, of course, tell your friends. Caught by Happy is a production of Harrington Communications Consultants. Find us on the web at harringtoncc.net. Everything you need from strategic communications to content marketing to creating some videos, photography, whatever it is your brand needs to communicate your mission, we'll get you straight. harringtoncc.net.